Now we are on the left brain gifts. The left brain, left side of your brain is the more linear hemisphere. It means 1 + 1 = 2. There is logic to it. There is order. There is definition. It is not intuitive. Everything in the right brain comes from an intuitive perspective. The left brain comes from a trained, learned perspective. You can get through the world in many ways with your right gifts, but the world is all about your left gifts. The world is about teaching you how the world works. And the world works in a linear way, primarily through mathematical, logical, and verbal. So the first gift I'm going to talk about in the left brain is the mathematical, logical gift. Now, I remember my days in school, and there were a whole lot of people that did not like math. I understand now that those are people who were very creative. They came to world from a creative perspective. But the world seems to respect, and the world now seems to be moving more toward the linear left brain, verbal, linguistic, and mathematical, logical perspective. So the diversity comes in the right brain. The left brain is what you are taught. You cannot do math intuitively because you first have to learn the numbers. You have to learn what one means, what two means, the equivalency of that. You have to learn how to add. Those are not things that you're born understanding. You're taught them. And you are born being logical, and the more logical you're born being, the more affinity you have for being mathematical. Again, my daughter is the only reference I have right now, my granddaughter. I see her logic. I see her trying to put her little pacifier in her mouth and finding and figuring out, I got to turn it, I got to this and I got. That's logical. Some people can do that quickly, and some people have a hard time putting logic together. Some people are so creative with so many creative gifts that they dominate their lives, and it makes it very difficult for them to get to the logical and therefore to the mathematical. I was married to a man like that. He was a phenomenal left-handed artist, but he couldn't add 2 + 3. He couldn't do things consistently. It made it very difficult on a practical life perspective. I had to understand that and deal with that. But you have to understand other people in life. That's a whole nother conversation. But understanding gifts and talents is a way of understanding others. And so there are those of you who are very creative, who have very logical, mathematical, straight-laced friends, understand that and recognize you need them. And those of you who are mathematical logical, you need the ones who are creative, who are in the right brain. You balance each other out. Life is like being in alignment. I'm going to talk about that all the time. Being authentic and being in alignment and how important that is. So it's important that you know what your gifts and talents are. And if mathematical logical is not one of your gifts and talents, make sure you have someone in your life who can handle that part for you. Don't say, I'm going to learn it, and you've gone through school and you've tried and it just doesn't work for you. You can't make your brain change in that way in the time you need it to change. You need to focus on what your gifts are, not on the things that are practically impossible for you to learn in a reasonable amount of time. Not saying you can't, but why stress yourself when you can pay somebody to do those things, or you can find a friend or a spouse or a sibling or a parent or a child or someone to help you. Admit that's not your strength. Don't be ashamed about it and get some help for it, because that will help make sure your life goes better from day to day. All right? That's mathematical, logical. You need logical people around you. You need people around you who know how to do math. The world is based on, it's not my logic. It may not be logical to me, but there is a logic to it. Okay? Its logic may not be based on my values, but there is logic. So you have to know what your logic and values is a whole nother conversation. We'll have that later. So all of these are components of who you are. And part of it starts with understanding what are your natural gifts and talents.